Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Truth We Hide podcast. Today's guest is Kamini Wood. She is the author of Life's Gentle Reminders. She is on a mission to help other high achievers let go of external validation and codependency and into resilient self-leaders. We were just talking a few minutes ago, and I'm really excited for you to hear her story and the whole purpose behind her book, because I know you're going to sit back and go, oh yeah, I totally relate to that. So welcome. Thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your story and what you do now.
Yeah. So I am actually the mother of five. My youngest is 6 years old and my oldest is 18. I have 3 girls and 2 boys. But beyond that, I myself am a high achiever and a recovering people-pleasing perfectionist. I actually am a certified life coach, and I work with other high achievers, both adults and teens. So I also went and got specially certified to coach teens as well, just in order to help them overcome that stress and anxiety that comes with trying to do it all, trying to constantly live to those external validations and those external expectations that can cause this anxiety and this overwhelm. So I work with them on figuring out how to shift those mindsets and behavior patterns and move into this place of owning who they are, authentically who they are, and recognizing that their uniqueness is actually the gift that this world needs, and allowing them to really embrace that and become their own self-leader so that they're no longer a hostage to those expectations, but like I said, this resilient self-leader.
That's amazing. I wish I would have had something like that when I was a teenager.
Well, honestly, that's why I was drawn to work with teens. Yes, I am a mom, so my own kids have gone through some of those stages as well, but I was that teen. And had I had somebody who understood what it was like to try to live up to these, like, the family obligations, the social obligations, the academic obligations, all of those things, if I had that, I may not have been so hard on myself. I may have shifted earlier rather than, getting into middle age before I kind of woke up to the people pleasing.
Yeah, we didn't talk about stuff like that as a kid. It was either we gave up because we didn't feel like we could succeed. We felt like failures, or we worked ourselves so hard that we were stressed out. And it was like, I have to get to this certain university or I'm going to let my parents down or whatever. And that's huge. And
Yes.
I even see that I have a daughter and a son. She's 19 in college and he's 17, but seeing how different they are, she's always gotten good, always received good grades, and she would study, and we didn't really have to get on her. But my son, when he gets so stressed out, he's like, I can't do it. I can't think. And he gets overwhelmed. And that's how I used to be. I could not take tests.
Yep.
Because I had already convinced myself that I was going to fail.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the inner critic takes off. And the next thing you know, you're actually in this mental paralysis. That's what I call it, this emotional mental paralysis, because you're trying so hard to meet these expectations that are external. And it's really finding it within you, finding what is that barometer. It's the distinction between being a thermostat and a thermometer, right? The thermostat measures the outside temperature and the thermometer is an internal measurement.
Yeah.
It's listening to the thermometer rather than the thermostat.
Yeah. So how do you, and now that I'm in my mid 40s, now I'm dealing with, it's off and on, what's it called? Imposter syndrome.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So it's like I went through this stage, now I go through this stage. But see, so as an adult, and then I actually get angry with myself, like, why am I even feeling this? I'm 44. I should really be like on this whole different journey. How do you teach adults how to get out of that?
Yeah, it's so interesting because our thoughts really breed our reality, right? And so when we are so patterned into certain thoughts, it's really difficult to shift from that. And so my work is really, when I'm working with adults, it's really centered on like sort of revealing for themselves, where did that thought pattern even start? When did it begin? What were the messages? Because sometimes it's not even explicitly said. They are in the messages that we absorbed as a child, things that we witnessed. and they become internal, and our body actually remembers that, like on a somatic level. And so it's really identifying, where is it coming from? What's this energy that I'm kind of carrying around with me? What is that covert message that I've internalized? Really reveal it to yourself and bring it to the surface, so that then you can start dealing with it.
Yeah.
And it's not that you get to kind of check the box and you're done. It's an ever evolving process, right? So it's so funny, because one of my clients actually said, I had no idea that layer was there, and it's like, yeah, because as you start peeling that away, and I know it's a cliche term, peeling away the layers, but as you do, right, peel them, you're like, oh, there's something else that I didn't realize was there. And it's okay to reveal it. And I really do say that even the people that choose to work with me, they're the ones who are ready. Awareness is that doorway into change. And so, or the doorway to change. And so then it's, are you ready to walk through it? And as you embrace that, you are ready and willing to peel those layers away.
Yeah, no, you're so right. I think within this past year and a half that I've been on my own self-healing journey, I had to be ready to get deeper.
Yeah.
Because I spent so many years covering it up. So I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. Yeah. Well, okay, let's scale back a little bit. And then I was thinking, oh my gosh, now I know. So yes, you have to be ready, because if you're not, you're just going to keep.
Oh yeah. The brave face. The brave face. I call it the brave face. You put the brave face on and you muscle through it, and high achievers are known to do this. Like, I'm fine. I am good. Like, you put on that brave face and you go through and you muscle through. But what you're not doing is dealing with the emotions that are there. So you're putting them in this container. They're still sitting in that container until you're willing to go and open that container and let them out to rise and crest and do what they need to do. They're going to sit there and swirl and swirl and swirl. And eventually, usually there is some type of volcanic eruption.
Exactly. And then you're like, oh my God, oops, okay. Now I know. So tell us a little bit about how you grew up.
Yeah. So growing up with a name like Kamini, first of all, it's a different name. And I grew up in a small town in Connecticut. And so it stuck out. It stuck out. And I think, I don't think, I know, after a lot of my own self-evaluation and transformation, a lot of what happened was, trying to fit in and trying to be a part of whatever and be accepted and not be a burden and not create waves. And so I became the people pleaser. I became in order to be accepted and be affirmed, let me do really well in school. Let me make sure that everybody around me is taken care of. So I became the fixer and the, worrying about really being responsible for everybody else's happiness, because if they were happy, then they were okay with me. And then I was okay. So it was very external towards the inside. And, growing up, the messages become stronger and stronger unless you deal with them. And so I did. I mean, and it's not that I was unhappy, but I got to being a mom, and my kids were that catalyst. When I saw my own children turning themselves inside out as pretzels to please their friends and to please me, honestly, I realized I have got to change how I'm showing up, because if I do not, this cycle is just going to repeat itself for generations. They were that wake-up call for me. And so I went through that work, that self-work, and it's not like a one and done, right? So it took a while. And then as I was going through it, I realized, oh my goodness, I had put into a box the fact that I really wanted to work with people one-on-one as a child. I wanted to do the whole supporting people and helping, because I'm an empath at heart. Like I'm an introvert, but I'm an empath. But I had put it in a container because I was doing all the things that I thought I was supposed to do. And so as I went through this transformation, I realized I really want to support people who are walking this walk and need that support. And I can do what I originally was in my heart, which was work with people one-on-one. And so as I went through it, I came out the other side and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go certify as a life coach. And then I went and got that specialty certification to work with teens. And I am specially certifying in what's called conscious uncoupling. So it helps people, it sounds like it's helping people break up with other people. That's not really how I see it. I see it as uncoupling from patterns that don't serve us in relationships. And they don't have to be necessarily romantic relationships. They can be familial, workplace, friendships, because all of those, and especially people pleasers, we tend to have strained relationships because we've, again, turned ourselves inside out to please those outside of us. And we think that it's our responsibility to make them happy, when in fact, we can contribute to happiness of others, but we are not responsible for. So anyway, I'm finishing up that specialty certification, and then I've trained in conscious parenting, and, just really added to what I know, so that when I do work with somebody, I can serve them fully, because in life coaching, it's not any one thing. I feel that, we're holistic beings, right? So you have to approach it in a holistic manner and kind of bring everything to the forefront, because, like, for instance, if you're struggling in your career, it generally is because something else is out of line too, whether it be in relationships or your emotional health or what have you. So if you can bring them all together, you can then exponentially be successful, as you define it, in any and all parts of your life.
Wow. As I'm listening to you describe everything, you hit on so many things, because I'm thinking about my own life. I'm like, oh my God, maybe that's why. And I know it's why now, but growing up, I had no idea. So
Yeah.
everything is starting to come up now, and it's making sense as I'm listening to you. And I hope, gosh, I'm sure the listeners out there are like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I could figure it out. But it's absolutely needed what you do, because there are so many of us, even as adults, who still struggle with any kind of relationship because of the past, what we went through, and we don't want to admit it, or because we think, well, no, I'm in my 40s, I'm good, I've
Right.
already been past that. Well,
Right.
sometimes you haven't, though.
Well, the other thing I hear too is, well, that's just how I am.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's how it's always been done.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
the famous
Yep.
saying.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's like, why change now?
Right. Right.
But
And
I
the
think,
answer to that is, because you can.
yeah, there's still time.
Always a choice point. It's
It
always a choice
is.
point.
And
Yeah.
it's amazing, I think, once you see yourself and your kids too. I think that's what's huge when you were talking about that, because I started to see things in my kids that made me step back and go, oh, yeah. I need to change myself, because I'm starting to see his anger. I'm starting to see her being a people pleaser, because that's how I was, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. So I think, of course, kids are blessings, but being able to see that and being able to fix it, I think, is huge, because we often just ignore it. Oh, no, she's fine. It's just puberty, or she's moody.
Right.
Well, I started to see that it wasn't. She was acting like me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
and I say that all the time, is that my children, while we love to say my children, right? First of all, they're not ours, right? They are their own human beings. But I really do believe that they are teachers. They are teachers, and they
yes.
teach us as parents every day.
Oh my God, yes. You're so right. There are things that my 17-year-old has taught me that made me think, where did you get that? Like, how are you so...
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
He's at a place I was not when I was 17. I wasn't thinking like that at all. I was in
Yeah.
my own world. Nobody could tell me anything. I knew everything. But then now you see them, and you're thinking, oh, thank God. I'm glad that he's in that place where he can think the way that he does and make those choices, because we wanted to experiment everything and anything. Like, we're invincible.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just completely, like, my mind is going, wow, 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 wow. So then you decided to write this book that talks little pieces about your own life. So tell us about that.
So interestingly enough, I did not actually set out to write a book. I was just writing analogies, and they were daily analogies, just different things that I was experiencing in my life, my daily life, that I wanted to see if I could look at in a more positive way, because they were experiences that could either be considered nuisances, stressors, frustrations, and it was, or just things that happened. And if I could look at them in a way that could position it to challenge myself to grow, like from an emotional, emotional standpoint. So for instance, one of the analogies in there is about my oldest daughter, who happens to be a ballerina, and her feet are just covered in these awful blisters, right? Blisters, and just, we're constantly going and buying more and more bandages for her feet. And at first I was like, okay, these are really disgusting and gross. And then I started to think about it differently, and I challenged myself to say, well, what are these blisters there for? And what if we look at those blisters and those cuts as a way to they're strengthening her feet, and they're strengthening her feet in a way that allow her to continue dancing better and stronger every single day. So it's kind of like, if you shift it and you say, well, those bumps and bruises that we're getting along the way in our daily life, if we could look at them as ways that are challenging us to find something to grow, how would we grow? And so each one of these analogies, then I compiled them into a book, and each one of them is positioned to sort of ask the reader to look at their own life or their own self, but they're small snippets. So it's like you can pick up the book and read one and kind of go with your day. Yeah. But it's just to sort of get the thought processes working of, is there a way to look at these things in a different way? Is there a way to just shift even 5% in our day in order to make those small shifts that will eventually lead to these larger changes?
I love that, because I think we do need that. We need a little reminder of a pain that we're going through, or I was in an accident almost 2 years ago, and I have scars, and I used to sit there and go, oh my God, they're so ugly. And why me? And just all this. And my husband had to say, you need to look at that scar, and it's a reminder that you're alive, that you're still here. So it was a complete mindset shift. I had to get out of the woe is me and think, okay, you know what? I am still here. It was just an external scar. It could have been so much worse. I could have had brain injury or whatever. So I think that if we sit back and pick up a book like this and have a reminder that we need to look at it in a different light, that it'll make more sense, or we'll be able to be more present, or we could appreciate little things. So I think that's fabulous. I think we all need to
and just the little reminder that we get to choose, right? We get to choose how to react to a situation. And it's not to say that some days you don't get to choose to be just frustrated, and those emotions are completely valid too, but it's just a way to challenge that ever so slightly.
No, you're right. And yes, I always say it's okay to not be okay. Just take your time, take your day, and then wake up the next day and go, okay, today I'm going to do this. And you don't have to do everything. Just pick little things, little snippets from the book, and appreciate those little things. And I love that your children are able to see that, because I think it's so important to pass that down to our kids. To do that. There's this generation is so stressful. There's so many things in life right now that are challenging us, right? And so I think it's important, especially now, to pick something. I mean, yesterday I found napkins at the store. I was like, score. It was ridiculous, but I couldn't find napkins anywhere.
It was like being chicken. Apparently there was no chicken to be had for weeks, and I was the same way. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's chicken at the store. This is amazing.
I was so excited. My son was with me. I was like, look. He's like, get 3 packs. Okay. So, absolutely. The things we take for granted. And I'm like, this is sad. I'm so excited for these napkins. But it's just, at that moment, I didn't care. I was like, okay, we're good. All is good right now. It can be.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I'm so thankful that you wanted to be on here today. I'm thankful for being able to meet you and for knowing about your book, because I think it is so important for us in this day and age to train our mind to think in a different way, in a positive way. So I appreciate you so much for for sharing this with us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Oh my gosh, of course. I look forward to seeing what else you're going to do in the future. What do you think you're going to do in the next 5 years?
Oh gosh. Well, I plan to serve as many people as I can with my one-on-one coaching. And I am hoping to get the message out there about the fact that we don't have to hide from our stories. We can bring them into the light. They don't need to stay in the shadow. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to have your ups and downs. It's okay to be who you are, that you don't have to, live to those external expectations and validations. So I really just am hoping to really build that part of my life. I'm actually thinking about writing another book, so we'll see how that goes.
Wonderful.
But yeah, I really just want to serve as many people as I can, because I do think that so many of us shy away from who we really internally are, because there's so many shoulds and ought tos that we're living to. So if I can do my part in helping to move a little bit away from that, I feel like it was a success.
I love that. Well, I know for right now, you made me open up my eyes to a lot of things, and I was just sitting here going, yep, every time. It's exactly it. But it took me a long time to get here. So, and it's hard, and it's okay, because I decided that I wanted to change. And it's, for everybody that's listening, it'll take time. It won't happen overnight. But once you create that moment where you're like, yeah, I'm ready, then go into it. And so where can people find you?
So they can find me on the internet. My website is www.kaminiwood.com. That's KAMINIWOOD.com. And I'm also on Facebook at It's Authentic Me, and Instagram also. The handle's It's Authentic Me. And so they can find me there and shoot me a message or send me an email, and I'd be happy to support in any way I can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see what else you do.
Thank you so much.
You have a great day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to the Truths We Hide podcast, created by A Wild Ride Called Life. To find out more about our mission, visit www.awildridecalledlife.com.